So let's start first with mistakes a lot of times in real estate transactions that real estate agents make. I want to say one of the first ones is they try to pretend that they're an attorney, the unauthorized practice of law. But
Yes,
what do you
yes,
think
that's a
it
big
is?
one.
What's the number one mistake you think?
Welcome to the Jennifer J. Hammond Podcast. Jennifer is a licensed realtor, educator, speaker, and best-selling author. Jennifer's goal is to help you find your yay in every day.
Hello. This is Jennifer J. Hello. We have Derek here. I'm going to tell you, always good to talk to a real estate attorney. Welcome to the show, Derek.
Thanks for having me.
I'm so excited to have you because there are so many big mistakes that real estate agents make, as well as, I want to say, real estate investors. So let's start first with mistakes a lot of times in real estate transactions that real estate agents make. I want to say one of the first ones is they try to pretend that they're an attorney, the unauthorized practice of law. But
Yes,
what do you
yes,
think
that's a
it
big
is?
one.
What's the number one mistake you think
I
real
think
estate agents make?
yeah, I mean, I think adding on to that is trying to have all the answers. And I think one of the best words and phrases that a real estate agent has is "I don't know, but I'll get back to you." Because as an agent, right, you want to make your client happy, but then by trying to have all the answers, you do walk that fine line of unauthorized practice of law, or maybe giving them some misinformation that your client will rely on that may not be necessarily true. And so that's one of the biggest mistakes I see is being able, trying to have all the answers. So just it's so much easier, and your client will respect you say so much more to say, "I don't know, but I'll get back to you."
And also in that same vein, I know you do a variety of different aspects of real estate law. You also work as a title agent. In the state of Florida, that is different. So I'm licensed as a real estate agent in Virginia, DC, Maryland. As you know, DC, it doesn't require an attorney. Down here in Florida, it's funny because again, it's not always an attorney, right, on the other side for a title. Can you talk a little bit about that, and what are some of the mistakes that agents are making when they're choosing, because they're recommending the title company?
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And like DC, Florida is you are not required to have an attorney do the closing. You could be a licensed title agent. I myself own my own title company, so it is an attorney-owned title company, and so it's the reason we have agents select. Obviously, it's a pick and pay for agents here in Florida. But one of the biggest reasons why we have agents go, we'd love for them to use us or use attorneys, is because of our knowledge and background, our trained expertise in doing what we do transactional wise. So it's kind of an added security, even though we are still neutral third parties. But I think it may provide the protection and security of, hey, you have somebody who's has a legal background reviewing and doing all these documents to help facilitate and make a smoother, easier transaction.
Yeah, and I think that it's important. I was a paralegal, I was a legal secretary, so I think I'm probably a little biased. I really feel like having a lawyer who can answer questions rather than just a title agent, in my opinion, having done this now for 27, 28 years, is that it's just great because you don't know what you don't know. And it's not that the title agent, I want to say, is not is bad. It's just that they might not know the depth of where that came from. Like, where did what was the intention of the law versus the letter of the law? And how could that impact you? Because every single scenario, even I've been in real estate all this time and so many transactions, and I still will say that no two transactions are exactly alike, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it could be, they look identical on paper, but as soon as you start digging into it, it's left, curves left and right. And it's the windy road to the end of the transaction. Absolutely.
And so let's also talk about on that the same thing when you talk to real estate investors. So there's some big mistakes that real estate investors make as well. And let's focus on the multifamily investor. What are some of the things that you've seen recently that multifamily real estate investors are doing?
So the biggest thing is not being proactive and getting their team in order for these when they're acquiring deals, right? Not only the biggest person, I'll bias to say have your legal team, but your finance. Like if you're not running the correct numbers and you're acquiring it based on misinformation, you're going to really put yourself in a hole to where a profitable acquisition may not cash flow, or it may just, you may go immediately underwater. So biggest mistake is really setting up your team, understanding your budget, your strategy, and how to execute within that sandbox. Because if not, it can be very devastating. And then you need me for other reasons, which I'd rather not. I like being proactive, not reactive with those situations.
Right. And as a real estate investor, so often, again, you don't know what you don't know. So how do you know it? So somebody who's looking at that, would you be willing to review a deal for them?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yes, I'm happy to step in and review, on the contract side, on the due diligence side, on the closing side. I'm happy to work with any kind of investor and where they think I can provide an immediate value add. Absolutely.
And I think that it's important because, again, there's so many moving pieces in real estate. I say that it's like a fingerprint. It's that different and that unique every single time you do it. And in the state of Florida, things have changed so much, even just with property insurance, because over the last 2 years, we've had 2 years and a hurricane each year that has changed property insurance landscape, not only for real estate investors that are doing something simple like a single family or duplex, something small, to the big multifamily ones with a couple hundred. It's really changed, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And that actually touches on the point that I made about knowing your deal, because even for small, first time home buyers, they just think it's principal and interest, but you really got to take into fact is your property taxes, which just bites a lot of first time home buyers in the butt. And also the property insurance, as you nailed that. I mean, Florida it's a tough market right now for property insurance. And the commercial side, as you said, is getting hit way harder. And so, again, doing your own personal due diligence on what you're trying to accomplish by buying the real estate is huge. And you need to take in all these external factors to make a well-rounded decision.
I agree. So now I wanted to ask a little bit about why did you get into this crazy real estate as a lawyer? I mean, you can go a bunch of different directions. So why for you did you choose real estate?
Well, I actually fell into real estate. When I got out of law school in 2014, the marketplace for jobs was very, very bad. And so I actually was not even able to get a job till the end of the year. And then at the beginning of 2015, two partners were hiring for a contract attorney position. So I was like, yeah, I'll take it. And so I went in for my interview and they're like, what do you know about real estate law? I was like, nothing. And they were like, okay, perfect, great. And they're like, we'll train you. And it was the best training I ever got. I got to sit in between these two. It was a two small partner shop in Orlando. She did residential, he did commercial, everything from closings to big deals, like commercial deals. And I was just a sponge the entire time. And so I was extremely fortunate to fall into it. And I fell in love with it immediately and haven't looked back since.
And you have your own firm now, correct?
I do, yes.
And so your firm, you handle what? We'll talk about a little bit about what you handle because it's title, but it's not just a title company, right?
Yeah, yeah. So we're a transactional real estate firm. So anything real estate transactional, contracts, leases. We have our title company that we do our title and closings. I work with, like you said, investors, real estate brokerages. I work with developers, and then I work in a very niche area with real estate, which is kind of the wireless infrastructure and the broadband infrastructure. So if you've ever had one of these, it's a cell phone. You can't really see it, but one of my prior jobs was an in-house counsel for one of the big three for wireless carriers, and so you learn about cell phone tower, which is vertical real estate, and then my last job before I went back into solo practice was in-house for a multifamily developer, and you learn about and I learned and was able to hone in on broadband, which is cable and internet contracts. So if you've ever lived in an apartment contract and you're like, oh, we have Spectrum. Oh, we have Frontier. I was the one who's actually brought in those contracts for those properties, and so, but that's really what I try to focus on. I like negotiating deals and working with consumers like yourself, and again, helping you accomplish your strategy and goals, and get there, and get there together.
And also for someone who is a seller in this market, you see a lot because of the title work as well. I'm curious if you have advice for someone, and we'll just stick to the state of Florida, but the state of Florida, what is something that as a seller you should be considering before you sell your property?
You need to consider whether one, you need to look at whether you have your mortgage on your property now, because if you do, you probably have a more favorable rate. And what's your strategy for getting out of your place? Is it downsizing? Is it upsizing? But as we all know, the interest rates are tough right now for residential. So that's one of the biggest things you need to look at as a seller. What's the motivation? Because if it's just because you're bored, I would, it would be my advice to reevaluate that strategy, because you're going to be jumping into a much probably higher payment, and interest rates aren't going to go down to the pre-pandemic levels, maybe not in our lifetime ever again. So, that's what I'd be most cautious of. And when I talk to sellers also, if they're really determined to sell, hit the price point right, because a lot of the first time home buyers, because of the interest rate, are priced out of the market. And so you want to make sure you can target and get that off of, get the property sold as fast as you can, and get it and get on.
And also the taxes a lot of times change, right? If they've been in a place for a long time and then they go to buy a new place, big difference in price, even if it's a similar price range, right?
Oh yes, and I'll tell you my personal experience. My wife and I bought our first house last July, and so the prior owner had been here 30 years. So their property taxes, I think, were in like the 800 range. So our first year, we were like, yeah, 800, and then we just got our tax bill this year, and it was like almost 8,000. And I was like, oh, what is happening here? And and again, that goes back to my prior point, like. We budgeted for that, luckily. However, like if you're not expecting a 10x, change in property taxes, I mean, that's huge. But so, yeah, I am a prime example of how property taxes went from 0 to 100 very quickly.
Yeah. And I think so often, again, that is overlooked because people are calculating with what it is right now, but not realizing. And I don't know. I mean, I guess just because there's so many numbers and there's so much thrown at somebody when they're going to buy, that so often it just goes right past their head. And then again, it's the gotcha the next year and they're just completely shocked by it. But it's the same like we talked about before with property insurance. I mean, those rates have gone up. People have not been able to renew with the same company they were with. And so all of that kind of needs to be taken into consideration. It can be done, but I just think that, again, you need to put together, and you mentioned this before, I call it your yay team. Put together your yay team of advisors. I call it your yay lawyer, your yay realtor, your yay mortgage person, all of those people, because I want them to be able to say yay and help you make good decisions in real estate wherever you are. But as you know, I want people to be able to get a hold of you. So how do they get a hold of you? Website, social media, phone number, anything?
Yeah, so the best way to find me is I'm on LinkedIn. I try to stay active on there and try to reach a wider range of audience. So it's Derek Carrillo, and both title company and real estate law firm are also on pages there as well. You're more than welcome to reach out to me via email, via phone. So it's you can find me on LinkedIn, and we'll connect, and we can again hopefully help you solve some problems and achieve your strategy and goals.
Sounds perfect. Well, as you know, I'm known for my yay, so I'm going to ask you to lift your voice and say yay with me as we go off the air. Will that be okay?
Absolutely, yes.
Excellent. So 3, 2, 1.
Yay!
Thank you so much.